All right then, everyone calm down. Just calm down a wee bit, because I know it's been a rough one. Aye, I get it. Tensions are high, and no wonder. The comments after the final at the weekend were like a bonfire, folk properly raging. But before we dive headfirst into that mess, let's try and breathe for a second. There's actually some positive news to start us off, believe it or not. And after Saturday, we're gonna need it. Now, I know what you're thinking. What could possibly be good news after watching us bottle it in the final? But hear me out. Over the weekend, we got confirmation that Celtic will be seeded in the UEFA Champions League playoff round. That's no small deal, by the way. Genuinely, that's a proper boost. Thanks to Dinamo Zagreb bottling the Croatian league, they've dropped out of the Champions route, and that result sealed our spot as a seeded team. Honestly, thank your lucky stars for that one. Because with Copenhagen and Ferencvaros both winning their leagues, the margins were getting tighter than ever. So what does this actually mean? Well, for starters, it means we avoid some of the more nightmarish ties we could have been lumped with. No trips to face Bodo Glimt, no nervy nights against Copenhagen or Ferencvaros, and certainly no battling it out with Red Star Belgrade. And look, I get it. Some folk will argue being seeded doesn't change much, that the level's all the same at that stage, but I disagree. Because if you've been following Celtic in Europe for any length of time, you know how brutal some of those ties can get. It's bad enough when we're trying to settle into a rhythm domestically. Throw a hostile away day in Serbia or Norway into the mix and it can all go sideways before you've blinked. Now, we still don't know exactly who will be playing. That's just the way these things go. The draw happens before the previous rounds even played, so you get these weird combinations in the draw. You'll see names like Team X or Team Y, and it all depends on how the earlier ties go. But based on current assumptions, like assuming all the higher ranked sides go through, we're looking at potential ties against teams like Basel or Sturm Graz. Both solid teams, both champions of their countries. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Those would still be tricky, no doubt. Basel, for example, they've got a few familiar names in there. Albion Ajeti, who we know from his time at Celtic, and even Xherdan Shaqiri now in their setup. They've just won the Swiss League, so you're not talking about mugs here. But let's be honest, it's still a far better place to be than having to go toe-to-toe with Bodo Glimt again. I think most of us still have flashbacks to what they did to us last time. We were totally outplayed, and it wasn't even close. So being seeded means we avoid that sort of early disaster scenario. And just to be clear, no, being seeded doesn't mean we automatically get the second leg at Celtic Park. UEFA do that daft thing where they pick one seeded and one unseeded team, shove both names into another bowl, and whoever gets pulled first plays the first leg at home. Total lottery, basically. So we've got a 50-50 shot either way. Personally, I'm not convinced it makes a massive difference. There's this idea that having the second leg at home gives you a better shot at turning things around if it goes wrong in the first leg. But I've seen Celtic win plenty of ties with the first leg at home and lose them with the second leg at home. So for me, being seeded is the real advantage here, not the order of the legs. Right, back to reality, the cup final. Look, nobody wants to talk about it, but we have to. The way that match ended, it stings, and the fallout from it's been grim. Fans are angry, understandably so, and the mood has just been down ever since. But this isn't new, is it? There's been a creeping issue with us in the second half of the season. This sense that when the big moments come, we just don't show up. It's like we can't find that extra gear, and it's not just one game. It's been a pattern. Take the derbies, for example. We were poor in the last three, arguably four if you count the League Cup final. Same story every time. We don't take control, we concede daft goals, and there's just no spark. That edge, that bite, is missing. It's like some of our biggest players just go missing in these games. Saturday was no different. We had the lead, we looked comfortable, and then we gift them a goal out of nowhere. Kasper Schmeichel's error, and let's not dance around it, it was a howler, completely flipped the momentum. And it wasn't just a goal either. Once they scored, you could feel it. The energy shifted. Suddenly, they were believing. We were panicking, and it was like we forgot how to control a match. Brendan Rodgers' subs didn't help either. He made changes early, maybe thinking we'd coast to the finish line, but when extra time hit, we were left with a cobbled-together 11 that didn't exactly scream cup-winning quality. You had guys like Yang, Johnny Kenny, Luke McCowan, and Greg Taylor ending up in midfield. in a Scottish Cup final. No offense to any of them, but that's not the kind of lineup you want when you're chasing a goal at Hampton. The bench was thin, let's be honest. You look at who we had available: Sinisalo, Trusty, Yang, McCowan, Schlupp, Kenny, Forrest, Ralston. It's not dreadful, but it doesn't exactly fill you with confidence either, especially when you've got players like Hatate and Jada missing. The attacking depth just wasn't there, and when the game started to stretch, we had no one on the bench you felt could really change it. But let's not forget, even with all that, we were still in control for most of the game. It's just, that one goal changed everything. And I keep coming back to this. If we had won that final on penalties, none of these conversations would be happening. We'd be talking about resilience, about finding a way to win ugly. We'd be saying, all right, summer rebuild needed, but what a season overall. That narrative would be completely flipped. And in a way, I still think that applies. Because one result doesn't erase the whole season. It's been a successful season overall. 2 trophies, that's not something to sniff at. Of course, the treble would have been the cherry on top, but we got to put things in perspective. The league is the main one, the holy grail, and we won it. There's work to do, sure, but this isn't a crisis. It's a reminder, if anything. A wake-up call. Still, there are concerns. The center of defense is a weak spot. The striker situation has been an issue ever since Kyogo left, and we've never really replaced him properly. Adam Ida's done alright, but is he the long-term answer? I'm not convinced. Nicholas Kuhn's form has dropped off a cliff too. He started the season flying, looked like a real talent, quick, tricky, unpredictable. Now he's one-dimensional, always cutting inside to his left, and defenders have figured him out. The numbers back it up too. 3 goals in his last 14 appearances since Munich. That's not the return you want from someone meant to be your main attacking outlet. Now, I still think Kuhn's got something to offer, especially in Europe where there's more space to exploit. But if the right offer comes in this summer, I wouldn't be heartbroken. Maybe it's time to move him on and bring in someone who offers a bit more variety. Same goes for a few other positions, especially on the wings. We've got depth in numbers, but not in quality. If a couple of injuries hit, and they always do, we're suddenly turning to players who aren't quite ready for that level. And you could feel that on Saturday. When we were chasing the game in extra time, there was no one you looked to and thought, aye, he'll make the difference. Even James Forrest, who's been one of the few bright spots in recent months, had to go off early. That's just rotten luck, but it left us with very few options. Honestly, it felt like we ran out of steam, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And that might be the story of our season after all. We started strong, powered through that brutal pre-Christmas schedule, but after Bayern Munich knocked us out of Europe, it just kind of faded. Even the celebrations lately have felt muted. Trophy day was flat. The fans weren't bouncing the way they usually do. Even the players' reaction to scoring in the final, it was subdued, almost awkward. Something's just been missing in that second half of the season, and maybe it's just fatigue. No winter break, constant pressure, injuries stacking up. It takes a toll on everyone. Players, staff, supporters. Maybe what we all need now is just a bit of time, a wee break. Let it settle. We finished the season on a down note, no getting away from that. But that doesn't mean next season's doomed. Far from it. There's still a strong core here, and if the board backs Rodgers in the summer, properly backs him, there's no reason we can't come out flying again. Sometimes a painful defeat is what you need to reignite that fire. Let's just hope that's what happens this time. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a growing buzz swirling around the Scottish football scene that could shake things up dramatically at one of its most iconic clubs. Rumors have emerged suggesting that a consortium of Qatari billionaires might be in talks to acquire a majority stake in Celtic FC. The whispers first started circulating among insiders and local media. But as the days go by, the speculation is gaining momentum, leaving fans, pundits, and rivals on edge. The potential involvement of wealthy Qatari investors in Scottish football is not entirely surprising, considering their increasing footprint in the global game. With substantial resources and a history of high-profile investments in sports, from European football giants to international tournaments, the idea that these financiers could be targeting Celtic is tantalizing for Many. Celtic, a club with deep roots and a passionate fan base, could see a significant transformation under new ownership, especially if the deal goes through as rumored, while no official statement has yet been made by either the club or the supposed buyers. Sources close to the negotiations hint that talks are well underway. The possibility of such a takeover would mark a significant shift in the club's financial and strategic direction. Qatari investors are known for their ambition and long-term vision, often willing to pour substantial sums into infrastructure, player acquisitions, and global branding. For Celtic, which has dominated Scottish football for much of the past decade but faces increasing challenges both domestically and in Europe, this could offer a new era of competitiveness and growth. Of course, this prospect has divided opinion among supporters and analysts. Some fans welcome the idea of fresh investment, hoping it might restore Celtic's dominance in the Scottish Premiership and improve their chances on the European stage. Others, however, are cautious, wary of what foreign ownership might mean for the club's identity and traditions. Celtic's history is intertwined with community and culture, and any major changes at the ownership level inevitably provoke strong emotions. Adding to the intrigue is the timing of these rumors. With the football transfer window and financial deadlines approaching, it's plausible that talks are intensifying behind the scenes, aiming for a deal that could be announced in the coming months. If the Qatari group succeeds, Celtic would join a growing list of clubs worldwide that have been transformed by ultra-wealthy foreign investors, raising questions about the future landscape of Scottish football and its place on the international stage. For now, Celtic fans can only speculate and wait as the story unfolds. Whether this will remain a tantalizing rumor or evolve into a headline-making reality is anyone's guess. But one thing is certain. The possibility of Qatari billionaires stepping into Celtic's boardroom has ignited a fire of excitement and debate that won't die down anytime soon. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.